David Lincoln Productions.
Hi, thanks for watching today's episode of the Short Vol Show Live. My name is David. Today we're going to cover one of those SIBO back in the day episodes. I know people kind of like those. And I'm going to talk about the trade that got me my trading badge and back to Chicago as a full-time trader. All right, thanks for watching today, folks. And I wanted to tell you this time about the story of how I got back and on a badge in Chicago. And it all happened in San Francisco on the Pico Stock Exchange. A bunch of us competed in a class to get out there. And it was like a guy that went to Stanford who was a total genius, a guy that went to Yale who was a total genius, another guy who was like super charismatic and really smart too, and me. So, and they kind of told us, usually what happens is that one guy doesn't make it. So if you're the low guy, you're not going to make it. So I was like, oh, great. So things went along, and I went on a seat. I traded, and your P&L is not your own when you're a trader trainee. Like, you don't get any of the money if you make it. You don't lose any of the money if you lose it, but they're watching you, and you need to perform. So it got to about the 6-month mark, and they had a meeting with us, and they said, all right, great, good job, guys. You're soon going to be all promoted. And then at the end of the meeting, they're like, Dave, stay behind. So I'm like, oh, great. And my boss, Bill, Uncle Bill, he said, look, Dave, you're on the fence. The next couple weeks are going to determine your fate. So I just said, I'll just try to keep doing what I'm doing, I suppose. And so one day I was in the pit. It was lunchtime. There's nobody really around. And I was trading this stock called System Software, SafeSex, SSAX was the symbol. And I've talked before about stock trading back in the day. Then nowadays you just get on your handheld and you can buy or sell stock. But back then you had to have a stock clerk who would call the various firms. If it was a NASDAQ stock, they'd have to call up the different firms and say, hey, can I sell 3,000 here, this or that. If it was a New York Stock Exchange stock or a listed stock, they would call the New York Stock Exchange. So we would have a bunch of these firms, the numbers with us in case, because the stock guy who did the stock for my company, I wasn't the priority. The big guys in the company were the priority. As trader trainee is like the last guy he's going to pick up on. So if some other stock is busy, I'm going to be the last priority. These other guys, they cost a little bit more per share, but they want your business. So I had all these guys' numbers written down just in case. So this news comes across the tape. The company's biggest customer is suing them for their only product. I think it was like some sort of accounting software. Boom. All this chaos goes on. The brokers start flooding the pit. I get on the phone, call one stock company, sell 10 grand at the market. Hang up, call another one, sell 5 grand at the market. Hang up, sell another one, sell 5 grand at the market. So then the stock clerks, they're going to get on the phone and they're going to try to execute these orders. So I'm watching, the stock drops, boom, halts trading. So I'm like, oh boy. I think I was short like a couple puts or something, so I was potentially losing a little bit already. So I was nervous. All of a sudden the phone rings. Boom, you sold 4,500. Boom, another call, you sold 5 grand, sold another 5 grand. I ended up selling 14,500 shares. Go back up to the office, and I remember Steve Robinson, with a partner in our firm, he's like, slapped me 5. He's like, way to go, Dave. Everyone's like, yeah, Dave, blah, blah, blah. And stock opened down another $7 the next day. I covered my shares, and they told me, you made your ticket back to Chicago. So that was a huge moment for me. And but it was one of these like split-second things where I just reacted, and it happened. But so much of trading is fate, and you try to put yourself in a good situation, but so much of it is fate. And at that point, I just felt like really grateful that something happened that got me back there, because I wasn't going to be beating out this Stanford guy, that was for sure. Anyway, so that's my story of how I got back to Chicago. It all happened a long time ago in 1995 in California, and I'll never forget that day. Thanks for watching the show, folks. Check out my daily videos. Thanks to Devin for hooking me up today with camera work, and I'll see you in the next one. All right. Hi, welcome back to the Short Vol Show. I wanted to tell you about one of my biggest victories of all time. Now, the only reason I feel comfortable with talking about a victory is I have told you about a lot of my failings. I'm not one of these guys who comes on and is like, oh yeah, I made 10 grand today. Oh yeah, I made 5 grand today. You hear as much about my losses as my victories. But this was a huge victory. It was in a company called CV Therapeutics, CVTX. I'm sure you can look it up. It was a biotech stock waiting for FDA approval of their drug. Stock was trading $30. So the scene is stock's trading $30. We're supposed to hear if their drug got approved or not. Now, if the drug gets approved, it's like, I think it was like a cancer drug. So if drug gets approved, this thing could go to the moon. It could go to 100. Who knows? If it doesn't get approved, this is like the only drug they had in the pipeline. So it's like, this is a big moment. So they came in and they bought the 30 calls paying $7.50. So essentially, you sell the 30 calls and you buy stock, you're selling a straddle for $15, which means that if the stock moves less than $15 on this news the next day, then you make money. So you have stock's 30, you have between, if it goes anywhere down to $15 or anywhere up from $30 to $45, you make money. Beyond there, you start losing money at an increasing rate. So I sold the straddle. I sold about almost $300,000 worth of straddles by selling the calls and buying stock. Now remember, if you sell 2 calls and buy 100 shares of stock, that is selling 1 straddle, because if you're hedging 1-to-1, it would be 200 shares. So it's 100 shares versus 2 calls. So I sold the straddle. I was sweating. I didn't sleep that night at all, and came in that morning, and the news came out, and the news was that the decision got delayed, which was the best thing that could have happened, because then the stock didn't move at all. It stayed exactly where it was. The calls that I sold for $7.50 each, which is $750 each for the calls, I bought back for $50 each the next day. Huge win. Once again, go upstairs. They're, high five, Dave. That's the greatest and everything. But, it could have gone the other way too. We're in the business of taking risk, which is not necessarily the stance you want to be taking as a retail guy. But, once again, it feels great to make money. CVTX, it's another story in the book, and one that I actually made money on. So it was great. I'll never forget that day being in the pit, and it was the most amazing thing ever. And when I bought the calls back, I bought like an extra 100 calls for 50 cents just for the kicker. So, so that's another story. Check out my daily videos where I'm talking about stock setups. I've been doing calendar spreads lately, and of course, all the time I have VIX content. Check that out, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the video today, folks. The VIX is a great trading vehicle in that it removes from you a couple of the variables that have to do with trading. The VIX oscillates. It goes up and then it comes back. It always comes back. It's not like a stock that can just get away from you and just take off to the upside. You know when it goes higher that it's coming back down again. And this is what makes it a great trading vehicle to make money steadily. If you stick with me and watch me trading, I can show you how to use the VIX to generate steady income with a lot lower risk than you have with a regular stock. It doesn't have a great name, the VIX, but that's because it's misunderstood. So stick with me and sign up for the Short Vol Show Live. I'm not charging like hundreds of dollars. You get it for free just by subscribing to YouTube. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.